Chapter 5, Text 13. So when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of nine gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. So in the purport, there is a mention from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, what the nine gates, what it means. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within the body of a living entity, is the controller of all living entities all over the universe. The body consists of nine gates: two eyes, two nostrils, two ears, one mouth, the anus, and the genitals. The living entity, in his conditioned stage, identifies himself with the body. But when he identifies himself with the Lord within himself, he becomes just as free as the Lord, even while in the body. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is free from both the outer and inner activities of the material body. So Vibhuti Mataji was saying all these news about Corona and everything else, right? What's the worst that can happen? One passes away, right? What's the best that can happen? That nothing happens. Corona doesn't touch us. What's likely to happen in the middle? Then maybe some of us get infected and we get better, as many of us are. Like, I'm very happy Kushal, last time I spoke we were praying for him, and now Kushal is much better. Still has fever, but he's better. So it's not the end of the world. And if Krishna wants to protect us, nobody can kill us. And Krishna wants to kill us, nobody can protect us. Rakhe Krishna mare ke, mare Krishna rakhe ke. So we as devotees should be like that child. I was giving the example that day, remember? That a father picks up the child and throws her in the air, right? And picks her, and she's laughing and giggling happily, that having full faith in her father. Somebody else tries to do that, the child starts crying because she doesn't have faith in that other person, but whether this person will catch me or not. So similarly, we should be Krishna's child, and when life throws us up in the air, we should know Krishna is there to catch us. He promises that in Bhagavad Gita, and he tells Arjuna to make that declaration that my devotees shall never be vanquished. Why? Why does he tell Arjuna to make that proclamation? Because if Krishna says something, people know Krishna sometimes lies. Krishna sometimes might not say the truth, etc., etc. He is butter stealing, and he doesn't have the best reputation. But he has one good reputation, that when his devotees make a promise, Krishna upholds that promise. So he tells Arjuna, Arjun, you declare boldly that my devotees shall never be vanquished. Because if Arjuna declares it boldly, then Krishna will keep that promise no matter what. His own words he might not keep. Like he said, he will not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. He picked up the weapons 3 times. He actually took part in the war actively 3 times. But whatever his devotees declared, Krishna always upholds those words no matter what. So regardless of the situation with whatever is happening around us, for some it's Corona, for some it's family life, for some it's finances, some it's losing their job, some of them it might be, whatever it might be. Material world is filled with problems. Today is Corona, tomorrow it's something else, right? Day after it's going to be something else. There's always going to be something causing us pain and suffering in the 3 categories: Adhyatmik klesha, Adi Baudik klesha, and Adi Daivik klesha, right? It's going to happen. It's just part of life. And Krishna is saying in chapter 2, text 14, that understand that happiness and distress is like changing seasons, keeps coming and going, but your relationship with me is constant. So be patient, be tolerant, and hold on to that relationship that is constant. Everything else is going to change. So if, God forbid, some of us are going through these difficult situations, don't be scared. Whatever happens, Krishna is there. Krishna is there with us, holding our hand. Even if death happens, God forbid, even with death, Krishna will transition us. Death for a devotee is different for death for another person. Just say a materialistic person, when they're dying, the pain of death is like being stung by 100 scorpions, right? But for devotees, that's not the case. Krishna personally takes care of us. It is, Srila Prabhupada used to give a nice example, that a tiger, the same tiger the teeth, the canines of the tiger. For a deer, it's death. But for a tiger cub, it's love. The tiger picks up the deer, tears it apart with that same teeth. But with the same teeth, it gently picks up its cub by the neck and carries it from one place to another place. The cub is not scared. So the same way, death, for materialistic people, death is very vicious. But for devotees, Krishna comes as death and gently and beautifully, lovingly, caringly transitions them to the next destination, whatever that destination might be. So for us, whether it's corona, whether it's death, whether it's loss of job, whether it's loss of a dear and loved one, it doesn't make a difference. Of course, we will feel hurt. Of course, we will feel the uncomfort and dissatisfaction and all of that. But end of the day, we know Krishna will throw us in the air and he'll catch us. He's there for us. So as long as Krishna is holding our hand, there's nothing to fear. Difficulties will come, difficulties will go. Happiness will come, and it will create more faith in Krishna that, wow, Krishna has walked me through this difficult situation. He has been with me every single moment, even though my family might not have been there, even though my dearest friend might have not been there. Krishna has walked me through, holding my hand through this difficult situation. And that is our strength. And that is why we do what we do. Krishna consciousness is not escapism. It is the ability to fearlessly face the difficulties, holding Krishna's hand, Krishna in the chariot. Arjuna is facing his life's greatest difficulty, greatest challenge, fighting with those he loves so much. Krishna is on the chariot. That's there. Krishna stands up when Arjuna cannot keep up with the arrows anymore. Krishna takes the arrows for Arjuna. We might not be able to see it, but Krishna is taking a lot of arrows for us. So much karma we have done in our past lives, so many difficult things we have done in our past lives. We don't know, but know for a fact that the fact that we are chanting, the fact that we have taken shelter of Krishna, he's standing up and taking those arrows for us. Now, Krishna's nature is he doesn't let us know, because he says in Bhagavad Gita, Sutre Manigana Eva, right? Just like the string, the pearls of the pearl necklace, they're on this resting on the string, but the string cannot be seen. You see the pearl necklace, you see the shape, it's very beautiful, but the string is invisible, and that string is Krishna. So similarly in our lives also, Krishna is constantly protecting us, sustaining us, preserving us, taking arrows for us, but we cannot see it because he doesn't show off. He doesn't tell us, look what I'm doing for you. He does it for us silently. So whatever our karma was, we don't, whatever we have right now, know that we deserve much worse. But Krishna very kindly and lovingly is giving us just a speck of what we deserve, karmically speaking. And he is taking care of the rest. There's no doubt about that. That's why he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Sarva dharman parityajya. Forget all dharmic, whatever things I've spoken in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya. Parityajya. Forget it. Give it up. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Only surrender unto me. Sharanam. Surrender. Ekam. Me only. Aham tam sarva papebhyo. I'll take care of all papa. That means all the sinful activities we have done in the past is a reason, is a cause of the suffering we are having right now. So he's saying, I'll take care of all sinful activities, all sinful reactions of the past. Sir, aham tam sarva papebhyo. Moksha shami. I'll give you liberation. Mastachaha. Don't worry. Don't worry. So don't worry. Krishna is saying, don't worry. Just surrender unto Krishna. Hold on to Krishna's lotus feet. You have nothing to worry about. We are devotees. That's our strength. Our strength is not how much muscle we have, how much education, how much money, how much following. That's not our strength. Our strength is Krishna's with us. The most powerful being in this entire creation is our friend, our best friend. Suhridam sarvabhuteshu. He's saying, I'm the best friend of every living entity. Krishna is saying. Right? So don't worry. Krishna is there. So he's saying that when embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions. So mentally we can renounce. This is my house, but this is not my house. It's Krishna's house. Car, Krishna's car. Job, Krishna has gifted me this. Let me take care of this job nicely. Let me take care of my family nicely. Krishna has gifted me my spouse, my children, my whatever. Right? So my parents, etc. So Krishna is gifted. So renounced means it's all Krishna's. Let me take care of it more carefully because it is Krishna's. If it was mine, I could have been a little bit more, okay, I'll take care of it tomorrow. But because it's Krishna's and I love Krishna, I should take care of it with more sincerity, right? So being in the city of nine gates, this body, uh, the living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions. He resides happily in the city of nine gates, neither working nor causing work to be done. So that doesn't mean you give up. It's you do detached work, not attached work. Most people are working for eating, sleeping, mating, defending. They all relate to the body. Eating for the body, sleeping for the body, mating for procreation, another creating another living entity, another bodily attraction, right? And defending this body. So people who live for the body do a certain kind of work. People who live for the soul, although they're working, it's called akarma. Actions that don't have karmic reaction because you're acting in service to God. I'm hoping all of you have seen that video I've made for you specifically. For this group, I made this video in Mayapur, right? Balancing material and spiritual life. So hope that makes it very, very clear. Now, not everybody is at that platform to do only a karma. So wherever we are to that degree, you can expect the reactions. You can expect liberation. You can expect to that degree freedom from stress, right? So when it's not like, oh, unless you reach the 100%, you're dead. If you go through college and you don't complete the last course, right? One course, you still don't get your graduation degree. You don't. But Krishna consciousness is not like that. It's merciful. Whatever you do to that degree, you get the return on investment, right? Krishna is not saying you have to be pure devotee. It's nice to be pure devotee. There's no reason not to be pure devotee. But to wherever you are, you will see the reactions. You don't have to wait till death to get liberation. You can be liberated while in this city of nine gates. While in this body, you can be a liberated person. Liberated from what? Liberated from bodily consciousness. Consciousness that this is my body. People related to this body are my family. Everybody else is not mine. People who look like me are my family, are my species, and the rest are not. I don't care about them. People who are Indians, from my country, etc., etc. So it's different levels of selfishness. And spiritual identity makes you liberated. You don't identify with the body. You see every living entity, from an ant to a mosquito to an elephant to a cow to a human to a dacoit. Everybody you see part and parcel of God. Now, to the degree we can see, of course, we're not there yet, right? It's hard to see our enemy, our people who have hurt us, who have abused us, in that level. Sure, understandable. Whatever degree we can practice that. To that degree, we are liberated from the bodily consciousness. To that degree, we're liberated from bodily identification. And to that degree, we feel happiness and detached. Happiness comes from detachment. Any questions so far? I see something from the chat section. Ragini Mataji is asking, yes, Prabhuji, it might be 3 minutes of video, but it helps how to balance. Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. Awesome video. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful. And very beautifully you wrote this message with all the flowers and all. Thank you so much. Very encouraging.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
All right, text 14. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, that's us, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Now, this is a great verse. If anybody wants to use it as an excuse to say, oh, all the negative things, all the bad karma, I have not done it. It's the body doesn't know. It's the modes of nature. So the point is, let me explain this a little nicely. Krishna is giving the intelligence for this. So I don't know how many of you have driven at high speed. I used to have that habit of driving at high speed when I was in the US. India, I don't drive. So I would sometimes drive at 120, 110 miles per hour, very, very fast. And even the slightest wind or the slightest movement on the steering wheel, the car would just shake up, like, wow, it can make such a difference when you're going high speed. So it requires tremendous control to be able to go at that speed. Now, not saying anybody should drive at that speed. Please don't do it. I was stupid. I was young. Anyway, but the point is, when we go through life, we are also running at high speed. And in that high speed, it's very easy to screw up. Here it is being said that it's induced by the modes of nature. So what happens? What happens if you fall asleep while driving high speed? If you fall asleep on the wheels, you could die, right? Because what happens is you lose control of the car. The inertia takes over, the wind takes over, the friction takes over, and if there's a car in front or there's a tree in the front or whatever happens, the car is going to just go and crash into it. You're no more in control. So when you lose control of life and let the modes of material nature, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, the modes of material nature induce you to do what you're doing in the conditioned stage of life, yeah, you might say, oh, I didn't do it knowingly. Of course, when let's just talk about something controversial. When somebody's stealing, they're stealing out of greed, not necessarily out of the fact that, oh, they're very hungry and poor and whatnot. Many times it's like, getting a job is too difficult, let's go steal, right? People are stealing from banks, hackers, ethical, unethical, all kinds of people are stealing in all kinds of ways. Politicians are stealing. Why are people stealing? Out of greed. Now, one can say, well, that's a mode of passion, mode of ignorance, acting. What's the person's fault? Poor guy. Here is what's happening. If you're asleep, you let the greed come in and influence you, and it's okay, nobody will watch. Nobody will catch me. Oh, nobody will get to know about it. Oh, let's do it once. I'll never do it again. And you do it again and again and again. What's happening is something external is influencing you. The modes of material nature is influencing you. Now, the soul has to be awake to say, no, this is wrong. This is adharmic. This is against Bhagavad Gita. This is against my scriptural value system. This is against my spiritual value system. I will not do it. The ability to say no is very important. But when one is in the city of 9 gates, sleeping, then the modes of material nature are influencing us. Now, after understanding this, hear this verse again. The embodied spirit, that means the pure soul embodied in this material body and mind body, mind, intelligence, ego, subtle body. The embodied spirit, master of the city, of this body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So when you are asleep, when you're embodied, that's what's happening. The mind influenced by mode of goodness says do charity. Mind influenced by mode of passion says, oh, let's conquer over the other person. Let's move this other person out of the way. Let me get achievement. Let me get this. Let me get that. The mode of ignorance is saying, let's go to sleep, or let's take drugs, or let's do this, or let's harm this, or let's harm myself, etc. Right? So all of these is influenced by the modes of nature, the 3 modes. And Krishna says, Daivesha gunamai mama maya duratya. Right? So these divine modes of nature are very difficult to overcome. But mam evaya prapadyante mayametam tarantete. That one who surrenders unto me, such a person can overcome these difficulties very easily. Very easily. Mam evaya prapadyante. Prapadyante means surrender. One who surrenders unto me can overcome the 3 modes of material nature very easily. So 3 modes of material nature are very tough. It's very hard to say no to that extra, if one is addicted to smoking or drinking or whatever else. It's very hard to say no to alcohol or tobacco or whatever else, because one is addicted and the modes of passion and ignorance is influencing us. If one is used to worshipping demigods, suddenly switching to worshipping Krishna only is difficult, because mode of goodness is saying, hey, you used to worship demigods, the inertia, right? So it's hard. So difficult, but one who surrenders to Krishna, one says, you know what, Krishna, I accept you. I'm surrendered to your lotus feet. So as you're saying, you're saying don't worship other demigods. Those who are worshiping other demigods, their mind Their intelligence is stolen by lust. So Krishna, since you're saying this, I will not worship other demigods. Krishna, since you're saying not to be intoxicated, not to do meat eating, not to do illicit sex, etc., etc., I'll give up these things. That takes a lot of mental energy to say no. But it also takes spiritual energy to say no. The spiritual energy is, Krishna, I surrender to your lotus feet. Please empower me so that I can move in your direction and say no to the modes of nature. The modes of nature, very powerful. That's Maya. Maya Devi, Durga Devi. She has 10 hands. She has three-pronged Trishul. She's constantly poking us. Hey, don't you want this? Don't you want that? Don't you want this? Don't you want that? And immediately, I say, yeah, I want it. She punches us in the face. The very thing that we think will give us happiness gives us distress. Right? So that's the law of material nature. And yet we keep on doing the same thing, hope against hope. So very important to understand that this is our situation. Embodied, the soul is embodied in this mind and body combination, right? And in that situation, the modes of nature are acting. The living entity, as will be explained in the 7th chapter, is one of the energies of the nature. Nature is the supreme lord, but is distinct from the matter, which is another nature called inferior. So there's two kinds of natures, inferior and superior. We are superior nature, conscious beings, soul, spiritual nature. And there's material nature. Somehow, the superior nature, living entity, has been in contact with material nature since time immemorial. So we are in the middle. We can choose to be materially, motivated or materially covered. That's when we let the modes of nature act. We are sleeping on the steering wheel. Modes of nature is turning the wheels, and we are like, okay, wherever you want to take me, I'm going. Or we choose to be spiritually conscious, awakened, right? That's why it's an enlightened person. Why enlightened? Because lights are on, awakened to spiritual reality, and you're moving the car where you want to go, not wherever the wind takes you, wherever the inertia takes you, but you steer the car. You have the control over the brakes. You decide the speed, right? You have control over your life. The temporary body or material dwelling place which he obtains is the cause of varieties of activities and their resultant reactions. Living in such a conditional atmosphere, one suffers the results of the activities of the body by identifying himself in ignorance with the body. So you identify with the body and the mind, you let the modes of nature act on you. What can I say? The mind is too strong. What can I say? Maya Devi is too strong. You identify as part and parcel of Krishna, you're like, you know what? I am strong. And I'm going to tell my mind, shut up. I'm going to tell the mode of nature, no, thank you. Moving on, right? As soon as a living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, he becomes free from the reactions as well. As long as he is in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of it, but actually he is neither its proprietor nor controller of its action and reactions. He is simply in the midst of material ocean, struggling for existence. The waves of the ocean are tossing him, and he has no control over them. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all turmoil, right? It's very, very important to understand this. Just like I was giving the example of the car driving while sleeping, similarly, Srila Prabhupada is giving the example of being drowning on the material ocean. And only by the boat of Krishna consciousness we can stand up. Yes, Vibhuti Mataji, it is absolutely important to respect the demigods, but not worship them and ask them, I want this, I want that. Sukha sampatti ghar aave kashta mite tanka, right? That's not what is recommended. But you said to respect all demigods, they were with us before Krishna came to our life. No, that's not true. Krishna was always there with you. You just didn't know it was Krishna. You thought it was demigods. But Krishna was always there, whether you knew it or not. Even for the atheist, Krishna is there. Because demigods are also being empowered by Krishna only. Demigods won't do anything on their own. They will only do what Krishna, instructs them to do. He's the boss. We're praying to them whole life. No courage to remove the demigods from home mandir. Don't remove them yet. That's okay. But put Krishna on a higher pedestal. right? Could Krishna's picture or Krishna's deity that you have, put it on a higher pedestal compared to the demigods. So at least there's recognition. This is a supreme personality of Godhead, right? He's a master. He says that in Bhagavad Gita, actually coming up in chapter 5 only. He says that he's the Lord of all the demigods. He's the Lord of all the heaven, hell, all the planets. He is the Lord. And he's the enjoyer of all the sacrifices. So demigods know very clearly who's the boss. We have a difficulty knowing it. Krishna was in the home before, he is present now. Who are the demigods? Kaushal Agarwal is asking. So Kaushal, the demigods are the 33 crore devatas, as we call it. Devata is demigod. Devata are universal controllers, just like the prime minister has a cabinet ministry, who are different ministries controlling different. There's water ministry, agri ministry, power ministry, defense ministry, etc., etc. So demigods are controlling various parts of the universe, and they have jurisdiction. They have been empowered by Krishna, and they are born and they die. They are not immortal. Brahma comes into being, demigods also come into being, and Brahma dies. Brahma lives for 311 trillion years, and demigods also live for the same period. When Brahma dies, all the demigods also die, and they're born just like us, right? And new demigods, new jivas and living entities, souls, become demigods, and new Brahma comes, and new administration comes, and it goes on like that, right? So they are just like us, but they are basically living entities, no different, except they have done some very, very, very amazing pious activities to get that position. Just like there's no difference between a CEO and a chaprasi, a peon. But the CEO has worked very hard to get to that position, and it takes a lot of effort to be in that position of a CEO. But at the end of the day, both are living entities. Both eat, sleep, mate, defend. Both are humans, right? So demigods are higher beings, same living entity. They are not God. That's the difference. Kaushal Prabhu, are you clear for the demigods? Prayash, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not going to publicly say it, but that's motivation for you to be self-reliant and be an independent adult, living your own life and making your own choices rather than depending on your parents. If you want to talk about it, you can separately call me. Okay. Text 15. Oh, one more question Kaushal Prabhu has. One more question, Prabhuji. Why onion and garlic aren't considered good? They are not sattvic. So there is, just like everything else, there's sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. So there's food also, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. So onion, garlic, caffeine, these are stimulants that fall in the rajasic category that lead the mind to be restless, that increase our sex desire, that increase greed, envy, pride, all of these things. It's just like when you feel sleepy, you should be sleeping when you feel sleepy. Body is saying, I cannot go anymore, but you take caffeine and you're like, I'm awake for the next 6 hours. And that is harmful to the body. So similarly, onion, garlic, and things like that stimulate. It's not good for a yoga lifestyle, not good for a sattvic lifestyle, where we're trying to use meditation to control the mind. These are food items that make the mind go out of control. People who eat a lot of onion, garlic, you'll see they have a lot of rage, a lot of violence is seen in such people, especially those who eat a lot of meat. Same thing. Not saying vegetarians are out of it. There are a lot of vegetarians also who are very, very awful people. So it's not about just the food. It is about Krishna Prasadam. And that's what makes a difference. And we cannot offer to Krishna food that is not in the mode of goodness. We can only offer sattvic food to Krishna. He says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. So we have to be careful what kind of food we offer to Krishna, right? Only then it has impact. The prasadam has impact on our consciousness. Does it clarify, Kaushal Prabhu?
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Most welcome. All right. Next verse, text 15. Somebody wants to read?
Yes, sir, I want to read.
Go ahead.
Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's
After
sinful
the
or
Sanskrit. Navneeta, you're muted.
I'm not used to this Sanskrit word, sir,
That's
but
okay.
still
That's why
I
I'm
will
telling
try.
you, so you get used to it.
Nadyate kasyasti papam na saiva sukritam vibhu ajnane narvardham jnanam tena muhyanti janthava. Uh, so the translation goes this way. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge.
Thank you, Navneeta. Just for your and for others' understanding, when you're reading the Sanskrit, Srila Prabhupada has done a fantastic job making the English, even the writing in English, making it easy for us to pronounce it properly. When there is a dash on top of the A, it is considered A, like the bara A. And then it's just A, it's a, small a. And when there is J and N with the dash on top, is Gya, right? Agyanena or Gyanam. Uh, so there are these accents that if you guys learn to read, you can actually properly pronounce the Sanskrit. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, if you have the book, all the pronunciations are given, all the accents are given, how to pronounce it. Anyway, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. The Sanskrit word Vibhu means the Supreme Lord who is full of unlimited knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. He is always satisfied in himself, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of action and reaction begins. A living entity is, by superior nature, full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he is prone to be influenced by ignorance due to the limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is Vibhu or omniscient, but the living entity is Anu or atomic. Because he is living soul, he has a capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of the particular situation which may be desired. So, without Krishna's mercy, we cannot do anything. We cannot even blink an eyelid. So, whatever we desire as Paramatma, he is neutral. He is not biased. He won't tell us, oh, you're making the wrong choice. If it is in our karma, he will fulfill that desire. If it is not in our karma, he will not fulfill that desire. It is as same thing as if you have money in the bank, you go to a ATM machine, you put in your card, and you say, I want X amount of money. If you want to withdraw 10,000 rupees and you have 9,999, the ATM machine will not give you the money. But if you have 10,001, then ATM machine will give you the 10,000 rupees to withdraw. So similarly, according to karma, the super soul, Paramatma, Krishna, is allowing us to fulfill our desires, no matter how stupid, no matter how intelligent they are. We, as devotees, that's why it's important for us to have relationship with Krishna as Bhagavan, not as Paramatma, but as Bhagavan. Because in Bhagavan form, Krishna is interacting. Are you sure you want to do it? I don't want to give it to you right now because this will destroy you. So you have a desire, I'll fulfill it, but first deserve this. When you can deserve it, and I'll give it to you, when you're mature, you'll be able to utilize it properly. right? That's what happens when we are devotees. So as devotees, you'll notice sometimes not our desires get fulfilled. We're like, we are so close to Krishna compared to common people, but yet our desires are not getting fulfilled. What is happening? This is what's happening. Krishna is actually now taking part in that decision making, where he is making sure we don't do anything stupid, we don't screw up, so we have to take another birth. So Krishna is influencing the situations in such a way. So we should be very grateful that, you know what, if the desire is met, it's wonderful. If the desire is not met, even that is wonderful, because Krishna is involved in the process in my life, and he is deciding this is not good for me right now. So be it. Let Krishna be the driver of my chariot, and let him take us where he wants us to go. That's very, very important. And that requires surrender. Only when we let Krishna do it, he does it. He doesn't poke his nose in our business without us inviting him. That's why prayer. What is prayer? Inviting Krishna to interfere in our lives. My dear Krishna, this is what's happening with karma. But if you so desire, kindly help me. I want to be your devotee. I have this desire, and I don't know if I'm making the right choices, but kindly give me the right intelligence with which I can make the right choices, thereby fulfilling my desire and moving towards you at the same time. My dear Krishna, kindly help me. My dear Krishna, kindly hold my hand. My dear Krishna, kindly give me the intelligence. Kindly give me the words with which I can glorify you. I can serve you. I can lead my life. Give me the ability to provide for my family, right? That's where prayer comes in. So no matter what the situation is, Krishna is the maintainer and sustainer, and he will take care of us, no matter what the situation is. The Lord is a constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma or the super soul, and therefore he can understand the desires of the individual soul. Krishna knows, even before you start praying, Krishna knows what you want. But when you invite him to take part in your life, that's when he, as a father, he is now behaving. He's no more partial. He is Krishna as the father, or Krishna as a best friend. Suhridam sarva bhuteshu. He's the most well-wisher. And then he takes care of your desire, but might take a little time, because he's preparing you so it doesn't destroy you. The individual is not therefore omnipotent in fulfilling his desire. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires. And the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desire of the minute independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. The Vedic hymn therefore declares, Esha uhi eva sadhu karma karayati tam yam ebhyo lokebhya un unni nishate. Esha u eva sadhu karma karyati yam adho ninisate. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so he may go to hell. Kaushitika Upanishad 3.8. Similarly, the Mahabharata states, Agyo jantur anishoyam atma sukha dukha yo ishvara prerito gacchit swargam vasva abram evacha. The living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell, as a cloud is driven by the air. Therefore, the embodied soul, by his immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, although he is constitutionally eternal, blissful, and cognizant, due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord and is thus entrapped by the nescience. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. God has done this for me. How could you do this to me? Right? We always blame Krishna. The Vedanta Sutras also confirm Vyasamya Naigrihne na sapek satvat tathahi darsayati. The Lord neither hates nor he likes anyone, though he appears to. there used to be this girl who used to call me for almost 6 months. She was a medical student, very bright, materially speaking, but spiritually, I don't know what was going on with her. She would call me and keep crying on the phone. She didn't even know me. She just know me that I am a devotee of Krishna, and she would just call me. Krishna could liberate Putana, who fed him poison through breast milk, and I am chanting Krishna's name. How can Krishna do this to me? She was going through some difficulties in her medical exams, and every freaking day, sometimes multiple times in a day, she would just call me and blast me as if I am responsible for her life. But eventually, after saying the same thing, the same Bhagavad Gita words over and over and over again, eventually her life became much better. The problems she was facing went away, and somehow spiritual enlightenment came to her, and she understood what is what, right? And never called me ever again, never even to see if I'm alive or dead, even though for every day for 4 or 5 months she was calling me. Anyway, the point is, people blame Krishna for everything because they don't understand fully what is going on. The lack of knowledge makes us blame Krishna, then eventually become atheistic. One of my friends in college, she said, I don't believe in God because God is, to me, God is like a abusive ex-boyfriend. And I was thinking, like, if God is like an abusive ex-boyfriend, then you believe in God, because how can somebody you don't believe in is abusive to you? Anyway, but that's what she would think, because the lack of knowledge of how Krishna acts in our lives. We are suffering because of our stupid choices. We are suffering because of our karma. We are suffering because of our past activities, and we blame Krishna. Yes, Krishna's only thing is he is allowing us to do what we desire to do. As a result, we are suffering. He is never saying that, you know what, you should not open your eyes and learn the knowledge. If you decide to drive on the wrong side of the road, police is going to catch you. Nobody's telling you don't get a license, don't go to driving school. We should go to driving school. We should know how to drive a car. We should know how to the traffic laws. We should know the constitution of India. We should know, nobody's stopping us from learning. But if we don't learn, that's our fault. If we don't have the sincerity to know the rules and regulations, it's our fault. We shouldn't blame God for it. But unfortunately, it's easy to blame somebody. Somebody needs someone to blame, and the best, God doesn't speak, right? So it's easy to blame him, like, all fault because of God. He's doing it. That's very, very primeval kind of mindset, just like the Aztecs or the tribals used to do, right? Oh, this happening, what do you call that, new moon, full moon, eclipse. Oh, okay, now we're going to start killing children, we're going to start killing humans, and till this happens. So that's ignorance. That's ignorance. And this is knowledge, and this knowledge is telling us why we are suffering, how to get out of suffering. Suffering because of our own karma, because of our ignorance, because of our choices, out of those ignorance. And Krishna, we cannot do anything without Krishna's desire. So Krishna is allowing us to fulfill our desire by making it happen. But that doesn't mean it's Krishna's fault. It's just our ignorance, our lack of knowledge, and we are making stupid choices. So become knowledgeable, become Krishna conscious, and make the right choices. And when you invite Krishna through prayer, Krishna inspires the right choice as Paramatma. Within the heart, you can hear a voice. You can hear a very clear voice. My dear so-and-so, please, are you sure you want to go in this direction? This is not the right thing to do. Don't do it. You can hear Paramatma as you chant more, as you become a devotee. You can hear Paramatma in your heart. That's very important, that you hear Paramatma, and not your mind, not the modes of nature, not Maya, not the yelling people around you, but Paramatma within the heart. To hear Paramatma, you have to cleanse the heart so that it's not your mind, it's Paramatma that you can hear clearly, right? And he will guide you through the process. When you take surrender, when you take shelter, Krishna will guide you. When you pray to Krishna, my dear Krishna, please guide me, he will guide you. You have to be sincere though, in your prayers. Okay, I'll open up for Q&A if you have any questions. No questions?
Sir, I have a question.
Go ahead, Navnita.
So sometimes we don't know how to make the decisions, but some people say that right things will happen at the right time. You keep doing what you need to do, but how to know what is right to us?
That is why we study the Bhagavad Gita, right? Guru, sadhu, and shastra. So a guru, somebody who's guiding us, or a mentor or a teacher, somebody who's guiding us in scriptures, who is knowledgeable in scriptures itself, right? And guru, sadhu. Sadhu is examples from scriptures. What would Bhishma Dev do? What would, you know, great Mahajans, personalities would do? What would Janak Maharaj do in the situation? So when we know their lives, so that's why we should know the Bhagavatam. Because when we look at their lives, we can see in this situation, this is how they reacted, right? When there is a father is saying something, mother is saying something. Or in that situation, this Maharaj did this, took this decision, right? Guru is saying something, but father is saying something else, or king is saying something else. What's the dilemma? Arjun, when his son was, all his sons were killed, and Ashwadhama was brought by Arjun, and Draupadi is saying, don't kill him. Krishna is saying, if you kill him, there's no problem. Bhima is saying, kill him. So Bhima is his elder brother, and Arjun is like, what should he do in that dynamic situation, right? Different suggestions from different people. And he does, he makes a choice. He takes away Ashwadhama's money, because insulting somebody is as good as killing him, right? So that's what he did. So he's killing him, but not killing him, right? So Draupadi is also taken care of, Bhima is also taken care of, Krishna is also taken care of. So that's intelligence. But for that to happen, we have to have knowledge. So what is the right thing? Pick up the phone and call somebody who is guiding you. Somebody who is a mentor or a teacher or a spiritual master in your life, or write to them and get guidance, or be aware of the scriptures and see how Krishna is guiding us in that situation particularly, right? And we'll find our answers. Does it help, Navanita?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Most welcome. Prayash is saying, can we eat Cadbury and Ekadashi? Though Cadbury comes from cocoa. Cocoa is a bean. So if you're following Ekadashi, then grains and beans are not allowed. And cocoa falls in that category. Kaushal Agarwal. Prabhuji, if you can say something about Lord Shyam or Khatu Shyam ji. Some of the devotees of Shyam Baba consider him as Lord Krishna of Kali Yuga. Is it true? Pardon me if the question isn't right. No, question is fine. I don't know much about Khatu Shyam. The only very little that I know of is during the Battle of Kurukshetra. Uh, this person's neck was cut off, and I think he had the desire to see Krishna. So I'm sorry, I don't know much. All I know is Krishna blessed him, that worshipping him would be worshipping Krishna. Like, he was blessed in that way. So many people worship Khatusham. I've actually gone to the battlefield of Kurukshetra and seen that place where the Khatusham incident happened, but it's not like he is Krishna. Worshipping him has the same benefit as worshipping, just like worshipping Guru, right? Because Guru represents Krishna, worshipping Guru has the same benefit as worshipping Krishna. In fact, more benefit as worshipping Krishna, because Krishna says, if you worship my devotees, it makes me more happy than when you worship me, right? So similarly, Khatusham is in that category where Krishna has blessed him that those who worship you is as good as worshipping me. That's my limited knowledge. Forgive me, I cannot tell you more. Vibhuti Mataji is asking, do you go to office fearlessly in COVID? Having full faith in Krishna, obviously with precaution. Just a curiosity. Today, for example, I didn't go to office. I was supposed to go. I had 3 meetings. I was supposed to travel throughout. I didn't go because I'm taking my shelter. Here's the deal. We don't take like, oh, Krishna is going to protect me and test Krishna's ability to protect us. We do our 100% of being cautious, being careful, and then we pray to Krishna, my dear Krishna, if you want to protect me, you can protect me. And if you don't want to protect me, it's up to you, right? But we do 100%. We wear a mask, we use sanitizers, we don't go to work if we don't have to, we don't travel if we don't have to. So today, like, I made a choice, and I'm probably going to do that for the next few days. Given the rise in COVID, I'm probably not going to go to office as often as I used to. So yeah, I'm being cautious, and I will do my 100%, and Krishna can choose to do his part. In spite of that, if I get COVID, what can I say? That's Krishna's, whatever he is doing, he has something in mind. But I am doing my 100%, and then rest is in Krishna's hand. So it doesn't mean that, COVID cannot happen to devotees. It's happening. Devotees are struggling. Many devotees around the world. So not giving fake promises. Akshat is saying, I have a fear when facing some people and stage fright. I want to overcome it. Akshat, I can tell you a little bit about stage fright because I had tremendous stage fright growing up, and now I'm known to be a public speaker. It just goes away by doing it more and more. The more you do it, the more it goes away. One of my elder brothers told me in US, he was excellent public speaker, and his name is Brandon Lloyd, and Brandon was excellent. And he said, Avelo, the way it goes away is only when you try it and you face your challenges, you face your difficulties, your comfort zone. You slowly go out of your comfort zone, and that becomes your comfort zone. You slowly go out of your comfort zone, and that becomes your comfort zone. So like that, initially start talking to few people, have conversations, and then more people, and then whatever opportunity you get on stage and start speaking. People laugh at you, they'll forget about it tomorrow. Don't worry. And do it again and again and again, and like that you'll get better at it. Barbaric, Rodoshi is saying. Okay. Nikhil Yadav, he is grandson of him. Akshat, I cannot hear you. You can type if you want. Janak Prabhu, you have your hands raised. You want to ask a question?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I just typed. My question was how to distinguish between inner voice of Paramatma in the heart versus, our conditioned mind. And, sometimes we feel it is Paramatma's voice, but it might be our own desires. So and that's very difficult to.
It is difficult. Know for a fact at the initial stage, it's going to be mixture, because it's Paramatma's voice and it's mind, and it's getting mixed. We're getting mixed messages because of the lack of clarity. But as we go through anartha nivritti by the chanting and hearing process, slowly it will be very clear to you. Just like when you taste a certain food, this has been cooked by your mother or it's cooked by your wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot explain this to you any other way, I'm sorry. But eventually, as you purify your consciousness, it will be very clear that this is Paramatma. You'll be able to recognize it. I'll tell you from my example. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'll say it anyway. When preaching, there are certain times, certain inspirations that come. I am wowed myself, like, wow, what a great way to explain this. And it's very clear my tiny brain doesn't have this ability. It is directly coming from Paramatma. He is dictating and I'm speaking, right? So, and when I follow that over and over, that happens, I have been able to recognize, oh, this is Paramatma actually saying something. And the wonderful part, Janak Prabhu, is that later on I get a message from somebody, oh, I had this question in my heart. I was feeling nervous to ask publicly. Mm-hmm. And you answer that question so beautifully. And this is how Paramatma works. So I don't even know what I'm saying, but he's dictating something that is answering somebody's question, because Paramatma knows their heart and he has is in my heart. So that's what. So as devotees, you will hear this something that says that become an instrument of the Lord. Just like a spoon is an instrument in our hand, and we pick up the food and put it in the mouth. The spoon doesn't do anything. It is just being held by the Lord. It doesn't have its own mind. Similarly, when we become instruments in the hand of the Lord, we can hear Paramatma very clearly, and we just follow that. And people's life gets transformed. We act as instrument. Okay. But you will be able to distinguish it as you go through. Krishna will help you understand, this is me talking to you. He'll very clearly help you understand that. Just be a little patient, it will happen.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure, Prabhuji. Rodoshi Mataji is saying the person whose head was cut off was Barbaric, Mim's grandson, about Khato Shyam story. Okay, got it. Chandrima Chattaraj, Hare Krishna, how to inculcate more acceptance in our nature when we are hypersensitive at times. We should think that we are being accepted in spite of our difficulties and our faults. Somebody is accepting us, right? We are not being judged by the person who's bringing us to Krishna consciousness. Krishna is accepting us in spite of knowing everything in our heart, all the dirty things, all the wonderful things, all the embarrassing things. Krishna knows everything. Yet he's accepting us non-judgmentally. So when we feel judgmental about others, we should think about how Krishna is accepting, and we should also, it will inspire us, at least it inspires me, to be more accepting of others' faults and others' difficulties. Okay. It's 8:32. My apologies, I'm 2 minutes late. I'll take your leave. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Have a good night.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.